Hello, welcome to another training with me. My name is Pagan Malcolm, and I don't know, I just wanted to talk about two things on my mind today. I wanted to share some things that I was talking about with my business partner Hannah this morning. We were doing a meeting because we run a program together called Booked, and we do some other things together. She's a social media manager for authors, and I also wanted to talk about just something that I've noticed that, again, I feel like a lot of people are going to get upset by this. I don't really know a sensitive way to say what I'm going to say, but it's just something that I've noticed that I think is helpful to hear, or at least needs to be heard, right? So I think I'll start, I don't know where I want to start. I think I'll start with what I was talking about with Hannah today. So we were talking, and we'll probably actually go live and talk about this as well, or maybe on Instagram at some point, because this is something I would really love to hash out on Instagram with her. But we were just talking about this common behavior or pattern that we notice with authors in this industry from time to time. And it's kind of this thing where, so I said in the introduction video that's pinned in this group, I talked about how I believe that a lot of authors are intelligent and capable enough of making their own decisions around what they feel is the right next move for their business or brand. And like how I believe that you are capable of making your own investment decisions and getting those downloads for good ideas and executing on them. And oftentimes authors will go seek out external validation, and they kind of go to other people and say, what do you think of this? They'll ask their partners, what do you think of this, right? Should I spend this $3,000 on an audiobook? And the partner goes, hell no, because they don't see the value of it, right? Or they'll ask a group of authors, do you think I could hire an influencer? Do you think that'll work? And they'll be like, are you silly? Like, unless you're Oprah, that's never going to work. Like, there's so much discouragement around these big ideas that authors get that are actually good ideas, and they would actually work. And like, if you were in literally any other industry, they'd be like, that's a brilliant move. Like, that's the required move to be an entrepreneur, to be in business, to be an author who's out there doing things and building a brand. They'd be like, that is a really decent, solid, good idea. And most people are out there doing that already. And then in authorship, it's like, well, you know, if it's too scary, if it's too risky, if it doesn't seem like it's going to work, then you shouldn't do it, right? And so what I see to be a bit of a groupthink thing going on among authors, and it's not to belittle authors, but just to observe what's happening, is like a lot of people will join these Facebook groups with authors and ask fellow authors what's worked for you, right? Which is great. The intention behind that is solid, because it's like, obviously you value other people's opinion, you want to hear what has worked for other people. But then they take that at face value, and they forget that that's only one part of the strategy. And oftentimes a lot of people are sharing what's worked for them when they don't actually know their full strategy themselves. They just know this one thing seems to be working for me, and they'll share it, but they won't share everything else they're doing. And like, sometimes that contributes, right? So you get like these little pieces, these little tactics, these book marketing tactics, or these publishing tactics that are part of all these different strategies, or have maybe worked for one person for a particular reason. And then you go and try it for yourself, and then it doesn't work, and it's like, well, that was a bust, right? So the thing I want to point out is, like, when we do that, we're missing like a whole part of the strategy, right? Like whatever you see someone doing on the front end, be it on social media, be it in a Facebook group because they've told you a part of it, you can't look at that one thing and go, that's all they're doing to get a result, right? So there was a specific example that Hannah shared with me, which I found really interesting. And she didn't share too much of the specifics, but she basically said someone had come to her asking her for advice because she was told 3 different things, marketing-wise, that would work to promote her book, and she was asking, would these work for me? And she went through it with Hannah, and Hannah basically said, all of this is not good information, and here is what would actually work, that I can basically give based on what we've talked about, without knowing you too well. And basically this one woman was like, well, there's this New York Times bestselling author who, you know, does ads, and all she does is ads, and that works for her, so why can't I just do that, right? It was like, I don't believe you because you're telling me I have to do it a different way, and I now want to do it this way, right? So the thing that you're missing here is, like, it's not that the ads itself is the bad thing. It's not that doing ads is wrong, or that it won't work, or that you can't apply yourself and make that work. But the thing is that that's not all the New York Times bestselling author is doing to be a New York Times bestselling author. First of all, there was definitely other things that went on behind the scenes with that author for her to be a New York Times bestselling author. Like, it's definitely not just ads, right? And that could be anything, because you don't know what this person has done. You don't know whether they've done magazine placements, or they had a big following to begin with, or they had the support of a publisher behind them, or they've had like access to an existing audience from that publisher, or they had an audience to start out with. You don't know if they have done public appearances or what kind of book and genre it is, and even that makes a difference because there's nuances, right? So you're missing all these different pieces of what that author has actually done to be a New York Times bestselling author. And if they tell you, well, all I did is run ads and that seemed to work, it's like, well, that's not all you did. That's not all of it, even if that's what you know you did, because you still had people supporting you who did other things, and you still had different things that are specific about you or your book that worked for you because it's you. And the difference is that this other author was not a New York Times bestselling author. She was an unknown author, an indie author, had no audience, didn't have certain things going on. So of course the strategy is going to be significantly different in that situation, and it's going to have different kickoff points and variables, right? And the other thing we have to keep in mind, this is a big thing I love to remind my clients about, is that when it comes to authorship, everyone is dealt a different set of cards and different set of resources. And some people have the time and energy to do more, and some people do not. And some people have the financial resources to do more, and some people do not. And some people have extra responsibilities or kids or a longer job that they have to work each day, and some people don't. And so every strategy is going to work different and look different for different people, because you're not all the same people. You don't all have the same things going on. Not everyone has as much energy as the other person. Not everyone has the same income as the other person, or support net and system behind them. Like, some people have a husband they can rely on, a credit card they can rely on, savings in another fund that they can rely on, or they have additional jobs, and some people don't have any of that, and there's actual risk involved to take big leaps in themselves, right? It's like they still are responsible for figuring out how they take those leaps if they want to make those leaps and be supported, but it's like, it's not so easy for them as to be like, I'll just put it on a credit card. They don't have that, right? So it's a totally different thing for them. So then that changes what they can and can't do strategy-wise. It changes what they actually have the emotional capacity for, the time for, the energy for, the money for. It changes everything about what they're doing. And this is why I don't love when just rapid release strategy gets taught or something, because it's like, that might work for some people, but you have to have the resources to begin with to make that work really well. And not everyone is the same, right? You might say, well, ads works really well for me, but it's like, well, first of all, you had the ad budget to actually test on ads and get them working, and you probably had a genre that worked with ads, because sometimes that's the case. It's like you don't have the right genre and ads will not work for you. Sometimes it's like you actually had the time to invest in ads and learn them properly, or you had someone who could help you with them. Like, there's lots of different variables with this stuff. So sometimes it's just luck. Sometimes luck comes into it too, and I will admit that. So there's this whole thing, and I just wanted to bring this to your attention because I see it all the time. I see people in Facebook groups who are like, I don't like your idea, but this is what worked for me, and I think you should do this instead. And it comes from a good place. It comes from like, oh, I've tried that, it doesn't work, right? Or I don't hear good things about that. And then they're like, well, this worked for me and I want to be helpful. But at the same time, they're not factoring in, well, I'm also doing X, Y, Z. And it's also because I have this, that, and the other, right? And so you can't just take things at face value and go, this is going to work for me, and then apply it. And when it doesn't, be like, I don't know why that didn't work, right? That's literally what's missing. That's the gap. And so you have to be able to identify what's going to work for you. What do you want to do? What do you feel is best for you? And actually trust yourself a bit more. If you take one thing away from this video, trust yourself more. You are the best person to make decisions for your author business or brand or whatever it is going on, right? If you're a service provider, this applies to you too. Nobody else knows your books and your strategy and your resources and what you can and can't do better than you. So why would you take anyone else's advice when they're not living your life, when they don't know the ins and outs, when they don't even know you, they're a stranger on the internet? Why would you listen to them and go, I'm going to take everything this person says because they just happen to be a fellow author and I'm going to go do that too, right? Trust yourself. You are a CEO for a reason. You're running a business or a brand for a reason. You get to make the decisions, right? So that's the first thing I wanted to kind of touch on there, and I hope that really helped. The other thing is the work ethic part of it. So there is there's that part of it, and then there's this part of it where it's like, at the same time, I think, I hate to say this, but I really think it's not just in this industry, it's actually true in a lot of different industries. And that is that there are a lot of people out in the world who say on a daily basis, I want to be my own boss. I want to make this much money. I want to go do this thing. I want to go do this job. I want to go do this differently, right? so many people say that every single day, and then they won't actually put in the work to do it. And they're perfectly capable, and at the end of the day, it's like, it's just too hard. It's too much effort. I don't want to do that. The amount of people that, you guys will all relate to this, the amount of people that you hear say, for example, I want to write a book one day, we all know that only a handful of those people are actually going to go write a book one day, because the majority of people sit down, try it, and realize this shit's hard, right? Like, they sit down and go, I only wrote down 300 words and it's already been 5 hours. I don't know if I can write a whole book. Or they'll ramble and go, this is going nowhere. I don't really have a plan for this. I don't really have direction. I don't think I'm very good at this, right? Or they'll just sit there and stare at a blank page and be like, I don't know how to even start this, right? And then some people take the initiative to go, I need some help. And they'll go read a craft book or do some research or go listen to someone teach on it. And then they take steps to make it better, and eventually they get there. Most people are not willing to do that. Most people will do it once or twice, go, this is too difficult. Maybe I don't want to write a book after all, right? And so it's just this thing that I say, well, I'd like to do that one day, but I don't think I will. I'd like to go run a business one day, but I don't think I will. I'd like to get rich one day, but I don't think I will. You know, like, people will say it, but not a lot of people are actually committed to doing the required moves and work to get there. Not a lot of people are willing to put their hand up and say, I need some help with this, because this is hard and I've never done it before. And then go do that and be successful at it, right? And so I'm saying this happens in every industry. That's why there's only so many people who are successfully out there doing something that they love to do. And a lot of people are stuck struggling, you know, half-assing it, even if they have really solid, clear intentions. If they're like, I really want to make this work, and they've been doing it for like 3 years already, and it's like, I'm trying everything and I really want to make this work, but they're still not fully in. They're not fully decided. It's like they're in this trying energy. They're not in this decided energy. When you're in decided energy, you know the required moves you need to make. You know, I need to do the engagement every day, and that's something I keep procrastinating on. Or you know, I'm not putting out enough content. I need to get better at that, or I need to hire someone to help me with that. Or you know, I do not know this thing well enough. I need to hire some support to help me, whether that be a course or a coach. And then you go do the thing to be able to move the needle forward. Like, when you're in decided energy, it's like nothing will hold me back from this goal, and I know the required moves to move me forward, right? A lot of people are afraid of that, and they're like, I think I can do this on my own, and I can keep hustling, and I can keep doing it, but then I notice these required moves that are actually going to move me forward, and I'm too scared to do them, or they're too difficult, or I just don't have enough drive in me to actually do them, right? It's like, do you guys get what I mean? I think some people can really relate to this, because it's like, I want to be an author, but this shit's hard. Right? Like, I really want this. That's not the question of like them wanting to be an author and how badly they want it. That's not the question. The question is, I'm not willing to do the work to actually get there, because that is my limit. I'm not willing to overexert myself. I'm not willing to burn out. I'm not willing to be exhausted. I'm not willing to sacrifice a lot for a short amount of time to be successful for the long term, right? I'm not willing to make things difficult for myself. I'm not willing to go through blood, sweat, and tears to grow and do personal development and do all these uncomfortable things that are required for me to get there. I'm not willing to invest in myself. I'm not willing to get help. I'm not willing to, you know, spend that extra 10 minutes a day coming up with a post when I've been at work all day and I'm dead tired. I'm not willing to get over myself and do the engagement even though I hate doing it. I'm not willing to build a supportive habit around this. A lot of people get in their own way because they're like, I just don't want it that badly. I just don't want it that much, right? So I sometimes question myself when I look at my work ethic and I look at the things that I've committed to doing for the past 5 years that have gotten me here today. And there's very little I have not been willing to do, right? There's very little I have not committed myself to and have not been through at this point to get to where I am today. I have put in the 13-hour workday, sometimes longer. I've worked the part-time jobs on the side. I have invested in myself up to $20,000. Even though, you know, I had to find that money from somewhere. I had to make some really bold moves to figure that out, and it was not always easy. I had to, you know, build habits around things that I didn't know how to do at first. I had to get better at sales. I had to get better at writing content, at positioning my office, at packaging, at selling, at pricing. I had to get better at standing in my worth and not bending to boundaries and undercharging all the time. I had to get better at content strategy. I had to get better at putting out a podcast on time every week. Like, there are things I had to do over time, and it has not happened overnight. It's happened with this consistency and this willingness to get up every day and keep getting better at it every day, right? And go into it with a plan, and go into it with support, and go into it knowing what I'm committing to doing, and knowing why I want to do it at the end of the day, right? And so, like, I think this is just a thing, because like, I want this badly enough that I'm willing to put in most of the work, right? And if I'm not willing to do the work for something, I'm willing to give it off to someone. I'm willing to outsource and pay the money and spend that money because I want to feel supported. And there are things that I myself am not willing to do, but I'm willing to make sure they happen because I'm the CEO, right? So it's kind of like that different energy. And like the other thing too is like I reflected on this as well. And I'm not trying to make it all about, oh, look at me. I'm just kind of reflecting on like how I think about things. But like I really don't remember a day where I've woken up and just been like, had to really hype myself up to get and to go do work that day, right? Maybe once or twice. And like, I can't even remember what those situations would be. Because for most part, for like the past 5 years, every day it's like, okay, I am so excited to do things today. I'm so excited to write content. I'm so excited to do the podcast episodes. I'm so excited to do this program, right? I like to work. I like to do these things. I find real fulfillment in my business. Sometimes I have to make myself stop working because I get enjoyment out of it the same way I would get enjoyment from Netflix, right? And some people are like, I'd rather go watch the Netflix, but I'm like, it doesn't matter to me. I'm having fun either way. I love working in my business, right? So it's not like I have to force myself to do it every day. I want to be there. I'm willing to show up every day. I'm willing to try new things and learn new things. It's all part of the fun for me. It's all part of the process for me. And I think that's a real benefit, of course, for me to want to show up and do it, right? It's like, I'm not having to hype myself up and get motivated every day. I'm not having to do that. But like, if you are, why is that? Do you not love your business? Do you not love your author books or brand? Like, what in it doesn't feel exciting and fun to you? That is a huge indicator. Like, you should feel that way about what you're doing every day. There's definitely going to be days when you're like, okay, I'm definitely too tired to do something today. You get home from work and it's like, I don't think I have anything left in me to give. But there's still going to be times when you're a little bit tired, like rightfully so, but it's still like, okay, but I have one post in me and it's only going to take me 10 minutes to write. Or it's like, I just need to do 10 minutes of engagement and I know that it's going to push me forward tomorrow. Or it's like, you know, I really just want to get this thing about my book out so that I know that people are going to hear about it, right? Like, you want to be doing the moves, right? There's very few things in my business I'm not willing to do and that I don't enjoy doing. And even when I'm sick and I'm not actually physically able to get to my computer, I feel shitty because I want to be at my computer. I have the ideas all the time. I'm like, there's this thing I want to go do and execute and implement, and I try to get up and I'm like, not today. Clearly my body's not agreeing with me today. I'm not going to make it to the office. But it's like, I still want to be there and do it. It's not like, oh great, I got a sick day, I don't have to go in. You know, it's not how I felt. It's not like how I felt when I was in a day job. It's a different energy. And so I wanted to share that because it's like, if you're not driven and motivated, if you don't want it that badly, there are changes that need to happen. And I want you to share what doesn't feel good to you, right? In the comments. Let's figure out what that is. Because it's like, if you don't feel that way every day, something is wrong. You're not doing it right. And I don't say that to tell you what you should and shouldn't do, but in my opinion, if you don't feel that way about what you're doing, like, something is not right. You should want to feel that way every day. You should want to show up in that way. That is how I'm able to do it. Quite honestly and frankly, it's not like I'm putting in a specific kind of strategy and doing a specific kind of move every day. It's like I'm doing things I want to do. And like a great example to the opposite of this is like, I've thought many times about pivoting to doing general business coaching for a wider audience with wider niches, and I can't do it. Every time I think about it, I get resistance. It's like, that doesn't light me up. I get blocked around creating content. Like, cause you know me, I'm a total powerhouse at content. I put out a post every day. I have my post scheduled up for like months in advance. Apparently this is something people really struggle with, but I find it very easy and good to do. I create content every day because I love doing it that much, right? This is something I'm really good at. And I always have things to say about my process, about my books, about authors, about service providers, about business. I always have things to say about it, right? Like, I never struggle to create content. But then I think about doing it for health coaches, for business coaches, for general services, and I get so blocked. It's like, I don't even know what the fuck to say. I don't even know how to speak to these people because I don't want to help those people. That genuinely doesn't light me up. That genuinely creates so many blockages for me because I'm like, I just don't want to do that. I don't get those people. I don't resonate with those people. I don't get their struggles. I don't really give a shit about those kinds of businesses, to be completely honest. Like, it's just a totally different energy. Like, someone can come to me and say, I have this great idea for a book. Like, this has literally happened. Someone's be like, I have this book. This is what it's about. I want to launch it. on this day, I want to build this up. This is my plan. I have this idea for a marketing campaign. And I'm like, yes, yes, yes. Like, so many great ideas. Let's work through all of it on a coaching call. We're like having so much fun. Someone could say, I have this idea for a program. I'm so excited to launch it. To general business coaches, whatever, I'd be like, I don't know what to say about that. Like, it's different when it's like, when I get people, I used to get this in my membership, right? When people would come to me and say, I'm having trouble with something with my proofreading business, right? They'd be like, I'm having some kind of pricing issue or money issue. I would love to dive into that with them because, again, it's like, let's solve problems with authors, right? It's still the same niche. It's still the same problems. It's still the same industry. It lights me up. If it's someone else's industry, it's like, I don't really know your industry. I don't really get it. I don't really care enough to get it. I don't really want to help you with this, right? That's the block for me. That's what indicates to me, like, this is what I'm meant to be doing because it lights me up enough that every single time I get excited about it. And when it's in anything else, it's like, I could not give two shits. I do remember, I used to work as a marketing person in a software company, right? I didn't love their product. Like, it didn't excite me. I was able to get behind it. Like, they would give me enough information that I could work with it. I could get posts out. I could do the job. But it was never like every day I was like, oh, I have this really exciting thing I could say about this software. Like, I really had to think about it for ages to create content around that because it was a struggle. Because it was like, this isn't my thing. This isn't what lights me up. So that's why I say, if you're not lit up in what you're doing, something is wrong. Something needs to be shifted or changed because you're clearly not speaking to your ideal right audience, or you're not seeing it in a way that's going to give you the content ideas and light you up, or you're not seeing it in a way that makes you want to engage with your audience and build community. You're not seeing it in a way that makes you go, I can't wait for this to grow bigger. I can't wait to do X, Y, Z with this, right? That's the way it should feel every day. Same thing with service providers. Like, if you're not lit up by the authors you're helping, maybe you need to change your genre or your niche. Maybe you're only meant to do a certain type of service or help a certain type of genre, right? There's going to be something there that shifts. And it's like, if you don't feel that way, find the thing, because that is the problem I see. And it should feel that way for you every day. It should feel like you don't have to force the work ethic, right? Like, the work ethic is there. The problem is getting you to stop working. Not that we want to create any problems like that, but like, I'm just saying, like, for me, that's the problem I have. And it's also like, I want to say this as well, right? There are going to be things that don't feel great. There are going to be things you don't love to do, but it's still going to be a situation where, like, if you had to do it for 6 months, or you had to do it for a year, or you had to do it for 5 years, you wouldn't be getting 6 months in and going, I need to get this off my plate. I hate it, right? Like, you wouldn't be there like, I can't do this anymore. It would still be possible. It would be like, this isn't the greatest. I don't love this, but it feels good to do. It's not hard. It's not complicated. I'm still able to dedicate the 15 minutes a day to do it, right? That's the difference. It's like, you still want to be there enough to get those things done, right? And this is kind of how I feel about when I schedule out, in my programs, when I run programs, I have to schedule the group friends every 2 months out, and that takes me about 2 hours every time I do it. So I don't love that. It's like, well, this is a time suck. I always feel like when I get there, it's like, oh, I have to do this thing. I don't love it, but it's not hard. It's not like I find excuses to put it off and not do it. It's like, this is a requirement for my business to run properly, for my clients to have a good experience. I'm obviously not going to do it. I want to do it so they have a good experience. Like, that's the desire there. It's like, I want to do it so that things are working properly. I'm not willing to change it to something else. But at the same time, it's like, I would rather give this to a VA. So that's totally on the table. Like, that's something I'm willing to do. But I'm also willing to do it myself if I have to. You know what I mean? Like, it should feel more like that. Not like, oh, I can't do this anymore. Like, it's like the 5th day I had to do content and I can't do it anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it should be different. So that's kind of what I wanted to say. But the thing I want to leave you with when it comes to strategy and it comes to building up these habits in your business is that, remember that your business is built on habit, or at least mine is. And I think this might help some people to hear, is like, I didn't wake up one day like, oh yeah, I have totally mastered sales, and I've mastered content, and I've mastered podcasting, and I've mastered, like, engagement and creating programs and selling them out and doing launches. I didn't wake up one day knowing how to do all these things and being able to do them flawlessly. I woke up one day and was like, I want to start a business helping authors. And like 6 months later, I was like, maybe I'll do coaching. And so, 2 months in, I was like, maybe I'll create a coaching package. So I learned these things step by step. And then I kind of decided, maybe I'll learn how to launch things, maybe I'll learn how to sell things, maybe I'll learn how to create content every day. I remember the exact day that I decided I'm going to start putting out a post every day and see what changes in my business. So I started to create content and put out a post every day. And I did that for 2 years straight, where every single day a post would go out in my business into my Instagram feed, right? Every single day without fail. 365 days a year for 2 years. And that didn't happen overnight. I started by putting out 1 post a day, 2 posts a day, 5 posts a day. Because in the beginning years, that's what I did. Is like I didn't post every day. I posted a couple of times a week, right? So when I made the shift, the decided shift, I was like, okay, I'm going to do it every day. And I did it every day. It was hard at first, but I built the habit over time. I just got better and better at doing it over time. And now it feels weird if I don't post every day. It's a bit like something is off, something's missing, I'm forgetting something, because I'm so used to doing it and I'm so able to do it every day, right? So it started like, that was one habit that built my business, is content and doing that every day. And then I was like, okay, now I'm going to do a podcast. I have to be able to create this podcast and get episodes out on a bi-weekly basis. And I struggled with that a bit in the first year. I wasn't able to do it in the first year. I think I dropped off for 6 months at one point. But then I decidedly committed to start doing it. And I remember in 2020, that was the first year I did it every single month. I did it bi-weekly, right? So every 2 weeks for the whole year, an episode went out and I didn't miss a single one. And I was able to do that for a whole year. I was like, that was the first year I did it, but I launched the podcast 2 years earlier, right? So it took me a while to get there, but I just got better and better at building the habit, right? And then again, like I'm building a habit around engagement now and I'm getting better and better as I do it. But it's like I have to be willing to show up every day, at least 4 days a week and do 15 minutes of it. And sometimes I struggle with that, but it's like I'm getting better as I do more of it. I'm getting better at posting twice a week to my offer accounts instead of scheduling them. I used to have more going out, but I'm trying to do it more organically. So I'm like doing it in the moment. There's just little things like that, right? You just get better and better at doing it over time. So there should be this feeling of like, I'm so excited to show up and do things in my business. Can't wait to do all the things. I have a huge to-do list, or even just a little to-do list, but it's like, this is all lights me up. I'm so excited. I can't wait to create this new program. I can't wait to sell this new thing. I can't wait to sell my book. I can't wait to talk to this person. And at the same time, it's like, if it feels difficult, it's like, well, this is going to make it feel easier and easier if I just keep doing it and I just keep getting better and better at it, right? So that's basically what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about, don't just follow other people's strategies willy-nilly. Believe that you know what you're doing. Believe in yourself, right? Like you actually know what's best for your business. You're getting these downloads and intuitive ideas for a reason. And then it's like, if it doesn't light you up, change it. This should light you up. The minute you get an idea and it's a bit like, that sounds like such a good idea. That sounds exciting. I want to try that. I should really do that. It should be this thing of like, you're fighting not to go run up and do it that very second. Like, if at minimum you have to write it down because you're like, that's so good, I can't forget that, right? It should be that kind of energy, and then it should be like, okay, now we're going to get better at doing it. I'm going to build a habit around it, right? Those are my tips for today, because I'm like, I just feel like that needed to be said, and that some people are going to really resonate with that and hear that. And if that doesn't resonate with you, that's fine too. But it's like, I think for a lot of people, they're not trusting themselves enough, and they're not doing these things, and they're not actually in a business they want to be in. And these little shifts, these little tweaks can make it feel easier and be more exciting in general for them. And, it's also going to stop you from doing strategies that don't work and then feeling frustrated about yourself, because it's like you're actually going to trust yourself to do it, right? So that's what I wanted to share. I hope this was helpful. I'm going to wrap this up, and I will see you guys in the next training. Okay.